All right, today I just want to talk a little bit about an experience I'm going through at the moment. With the podcast, I I try to be as transparent as possible and as current with my life as possible. I believe the podcast is an opportunity to take people along with me on my journey through life. And you see, a lot of people tell us their stories when they've gotten to the other side. So we talk about things in retrospect. But I think we need more narratives that take us through people's current situations. And that's what I'm trying to do with this podcast, to really let you know what's happening with me as I live. Not when I've come through it, but as I go through it. And things I learn on a daily. Today I learned something very important that I think I want to share with someone here listening to the podcast. My youngest son has been on admission in the hospital for about, I think this is the fifth day, and he had a tonsil infection, and it got really serious because his temperature was spiking a lot, and so we knew he had an infection, and we had been managing it at home because my wife is a medical doctor. But then it got to a point where we just had to take him into the hospital. He had to be admitted. We couldn't manage it anymore at home. And so we took him to the hospital and he was put on admission, was given some very strong antibiotics, and he started getting better, eating better, temperature has gone down. And myself and my wife, we we kind of believed that he would be discharged today because he was feeling better. He was not having any spike in temperature anymore. His appetite was coming back. He was back to being energetic. In fact, if you came to the hospital and you saw him, you wonder why he's there. You understand? He was playing and he was ready to go home. We were ready to go home, but we believed that when the doctors come today, they would discharge us and ask us to go home. And for me, that was very exciting going into today believing that we're going to get discharged. It really set the tone for my day. Very excited about it. And now we're just waiting for the doctors to come around and do their ward round and just see that this boy is good to go. But then, the doctors came early this morning, about midday, and she had a look at him and said, I think we should keep him for one more day or so. I don't think he's ready to go yet. And for me, it was just like my heart just sank. I felt so sad and so disappointed. And my wife felt very sad too. And we're like, why? And like, just need to monitor him some more to just see if he's really okay. The temperature spikes. We want to be sure he hasn't had any spike in temperature for 48 hours. It's just been 24 hours now and stuff like that. And for me, it was like my hopes were dashed. And I felt so down and so sad. And I just I couldn't believe how sad I felt. I felt like there's no use going through today anymore. I felt like today had lost its essence. I felt incredibly sad, and my wife felt sad too. And I spent some time thinking about it, and I was like, why am I feeling so sad? Why am I feeling so sad? Nothing good seemed to be happening in the day anymore. I didn't see a reason to smile or to be happy. And before you knew it, the day that started sunny just seemed cloudy and dark. And I looked at the doctor and I just started to feel some anger towards her. All of a sudden, I didn't like her face anymore. Some anger, some animosity towards her. And I thought to myself, what's going on? And the Spirit told me something. The Spirit ministered to me and said, It was because of the way you started your day. You started your day with a rugged expectation about how the day would go and what the events of the day would be like. You started your day with a rugged expectation, no allowance for what God had planned for you. You thought in your heart you knew what a good day was going to be. You were very outcome minded. You started the day with a view of the end. And now your mind is at a particular end, but your reality is heading somewhere else. And now there's turmoil because now you need to reel your mind back from where you've put it from the beginning of the day to come into your reality. I know this just made me think about the fact that the wrongest way to start our day is with rugged expectations. Rugged expectations. Rugged anticipations of outcomes that we desire. And some of you might say, but we need to start our day with a positive mindset. What's wrong with starting your day thinking positive things and expecting positive things? There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But the problem is, we as human beings, our understanding is so limited that we do not even know what is positive or what is negative. We do not know. Our idea of positivity and negativity is so experience bound. It's so short sighted. So when we say we want to start the day thinking positive thoughts, the truth is we don't even know what is truly positive. Sometimes what we see as positive is that which we desire. It's how we desire it. If it's not how we desire it, then it's bad. Just like with me today. Started the day with a desire to be discharged for my son to be discharged from the hospital. No accommodation for any other outcome but that one. And once it wasn't tending towards that, it started to be a bad day. Because in my mind, all that plays out as good is us leaving the hospital, coming home, and being together and stuff like that. And that's a good, happily ever after. It's a fairy tale. A lot of what we think is positive is just our rugged desires without allowance for God. I think we really need to be careful about how we set ourselves up each morning or each night before we go to bed. In rugged anticipation of specific outcomes we want for the future. And when I think back of the events of this morning at the hospital, I realized that when that doctor told us we weren't going home today, I stopped seeing the good around me. I stopped noticing the health and the progression of my son's well-being. I stopped being grateful for the things that were happening in the present because the future wasn't the one I had designed in my head. The problem with having rugged expectations of the future is that when we do not end up in that place of what we expected, we fail to see the good things around us in the present. We fail to appreciate the present. Another thing that ends up happening is we begin to see people that hindered us or stopped us from getting what we expect or what we expected starting out the day as the enemy. Just like I started seeing that doctor as the enemy, started building animosity towards her, having a sense of animosity towards her. She had to be the enemy because she stood in between me and my rugged expectations of the day. How many people have we put in the category of enemies simply because they stopped us from getting things that we really wanted? Not knowing that some people that we've categorized as enemies are actually heroes. They've allowed us or even pushed us towards the path of what is right, towards the path of the divine. But then you still have them in your mind. Oh, this uncle, this auntie, oh, this guy, this colleague, stop me from getting this opportunity, stop me from doing this. Not knowing that if that person didn't stop you, you would not be on the path towards God's divine plan for you. A lot of times, what we call positive thinking is a need for control. A lot of times, what we call positive thinking of the outcome of the future is a viceful act of control. We want to be so in control of our lives and the outcomes of our lives. We want to see what is at the corner before we get there. We want to be in control. We want to see how it starts and how it ends. We want to define how it starts and how it ends. It really has nothing to do with faith. Because if it had to do with faith, we would trust God even when we do not know. We would not be so concerned about rugged outcomes. We will be so grateful about incredible presence. The incredible circumstance of the present, the God in the present. A lot of times what we call positive thinking is our need to control the future, to define the future, the way we want it, the kind of job we want, the kind of spouse we desire, the kind of children we want, the kind of salary we want to be getting, the kind of money we want to earn. There is no accommodation for God. Our plans are so God-proof. They're so full of us. How we see it, our knowledge of good and evil. I know what is good for me. And what is good for me is to be at home right now with my child, discharged from the hospital. That is what's good. I think someone really needs to listen to this today and understand that beyond our plans and beyond our desires are God's plans and God's desires that totally supersede ours. You might not see the good in it now, but God does. And I really believe the best way to start your day is surrendered. The best way to start your day is not with the positive thought of what you declare would happen. But the best way to start your day is with the positive thought of knowing who has gone ahead of you, who is with you, who knows what is behind that corner that you're going to turn, who makes everything work out for good, even when you don't understand how. The most positive thought you can have is that God knows about your situation and God is with you in every situation. That trumps every single controlling expectation that we can muster. The fact that I just know that my day is in God and I am hidden in Him and He knows where I ought to be and He knows how to get me there. We must learn to live in the present and have a very, very loose expectation of the future. You see, the interesting thing about Chinese architecture, there's a way they build their houses, especially the story buildings, especially when they are building wooden frameworks. They have an interesting joint design for their framework, for their wooden frameworks. When they are joining two pieces of wood together to build a house, they have interesting design for their joints, their wooden joints. And when you look at these designs, they can look kind of flimsy. They look like they can give way. They're not very rigid. They're very interestingly designed to give way. And they do this so that the houses, especially the story buildings, the towers, can withstand tremors of earthquakes. You see, when the joint is not too rigid, when earthquakes come, the houses will sway rather than collapse. And that's because in the design of the joints, they've given space. They've given space for movement in any direction. If they made those joints rigid, without the space to move in particular directions, but just to be joint in a way that the building stands only in one direction, when the earthquake comes, the integrity of the buildings will be compromised and the buildings will collapse. We need to live our lives like that sometimes. You have plans, but leave space for God to take you in whatever direction He desires. To take you in whatever direction He desires. And sometimes that is not a loss. In fact, that is never a loss. That's not a loss. It only protects you from the tremors and the earthquakes in your life. It helps you from getting damaged. I really feel I need to share this with someone today who has rugged expectations of life. Your life is so scheduled, so structured, so strictly defined. You know what you're going to do in 2 months' time, in 2 years' time. You have no accommodation for anything outside that plan. It's a dangerous way to live. Rugged outcomes cause us incredible pain. Rugged outcomes, expectations of rugged outcomes have a way of causing us incredible torment. We need to be careful. Live in the present. Leave some space for God. In fact, leave a lot of space for God. A lot of space for God. And I learned something incredible today. I don't have my mind on being discharged tomorrow or the day after. I'm going to live in today and be grateful for the opportunity to be alive, to be with my family, to have my son, whether he's in the hospital or he's at home, to have him in good health. I really feel someone needs to hear this. Don't be too rugged with your life. There's something interesting about the Bible. When you read the Bible and you read about the life of Jesus, it's interesting that you never hear him say, we are going here tomorrow or going here next week. It always seemed like he was a spur of the moment type kind of person. Just told the disciples, oh, let's get into the boat and go here. Oh, let's go here. Oh, let's leave now and go here. Oh, let's start going. It just always seemed like he was in the moment, inspired about where to go. His movement didn't seem particularly scheduled. It seemed more inspired than ruggedly scheduled. There was never a time in the Bible when Jesus said, oh, we schedule, next week we'll go here, 2 weeks time we'll go there, tomorrow we'll go there. It was just let's go here now. Go and do this now. He lived so much in the moment. Very important for us as human beings to learn to live in the moment. Stop and smell the roses. Don't be so destination minded. It's very easy to miss out on your life. A lot of us are not present in our lives because we are so focused on the future and how we want it to be. I talk a lot about young people. I admire their get up and go spirit. Gen Zs, I admire that about them, their audacity to get up and go. But for me, it's always, there's an Achilles heel I realize that a lot of them have, which is a rugged expectation of an outcome. So you see, a really young person running a business, the business is doing well. But then they have a rugged expectation of what doing well means. So for them, it's as rugged as I should be making 20 million every month. And this person is making 5 million every month. But then they do not see how far they have come and what they are earning right now as a blessing, because it's not what they ruggedly expected. It's not the outcome. I get to meet so many people that are doing well, but they don't see it as doing well because it's not what they imagined. It's not the specific imagination of well that they imagined, that they expected. I pray that God will help us. I really pray that God will help us. And I say us because I'm no different. And I say that because of what just happened today. I'm no different. Rugged expectations of the day. Let us leave some space for God. I dare to say let's leave a lot of space for God to lead us in the direction He desires for us. And we will realize that we are way better off with His outcomes rather than ours. My name is Tola T.A. Alabi, and this is the TA Podcast.